Hello, my name is Jason JROCK Houston, and you guys are listening to Chaotic Riffs Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.chaoticriffs.com. We're speaking with guitarist Dan Nelson and bassist Ricky James from San Diego-based band Pathology. Now, you guys were telling me just a few minutes ago that there's a huge metal scene still in San Diego where you guys are from, and that's great to hear because, when I was growing up, the big music scene out here in LA was, the Sunset Strip, where you got the Whiskey and the Rainbow and all those legendary places. But of course now a lot of bands aren't able to play there because they got what's called pay to play, and that's just kind of a really ridiculous thing. So it's great that you guys are part of the San Diego scene where there's still metal, and even people are even some of the big metal stars from the music scene in the 80s and that are moving to Las Vegas, and that's becoming kind of Music City, if you can believe that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Vegas has been actually doing really well with shows. But that pay-to-play thing is definitely, we've just been there, we've done that. When we were first starting out, we played plenty of shows. It's kind of before, we got, in bands that were signed and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the funny thing about it is even some of the bigger tribute acts have that pay-to-play, which is basically the club owners will give you 200 tickets, or say, okay, just give these out to all your fans and pack the house. And pretty much what it is if you can kind of pack the house, you'll get a chance to play there again. But if not, see you later, kind of. But it's kind of a way where the bands are paying the club owners just for opportunity to play, which is a real crappy way of doing it,
It's tough, man. Yeah, especially up in LA and stuff like that, honestly, the Whiskey and stuff like that. Unless you're in a touring band, you're probably going to be getting paid to play. Yeah, some of the opening bands that when we played on the last tour had to pay to play too. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's like that in San Diego too. Yeah. Some of the bigger venues, if you're opening up, especially for a tour package. Yeah. Exactly like you said, they give you those tickets. You're expected to sell them. Yeah. And if you don't, you got to come out of pocket to make up for that. So it's kind of is what it is.
Yeah. Now, what's your guys' story as far as Pathology? I mean, when was the band first formed? How far back does the band date?
Oh, it's been 10 years, right?
Oh, wow.
I think, maybe even more than that. I think Incisions came out and Surgically Hacked. Yeah, it was a long time ago. 2000s. Yeah. The thing is we joined Pathology. God, it's been a couple years. Yeah, we joined a couple years ago. Yeah, so we're kind of new, because they were doing really well, and then things kind of fell apart, took a little break, and then Dave started rebuilding the band and found us, and we've been going ever since.
So let's talk a little bit about that. You guys are kind of a new guys, so to speak. That's interesting to be talking to you because of that. I was kind of curious. So talk a little bit about the process of how you were recruited to join the band.
Well, I guess it kind of started with me a little bit. It happened completely random. Dave hit me up on Facebook Messenger, and I've never met him before. I was just out working, something like that, and all of a sudden I get a notification. I'm like, what the hell is this? And I look at my phone, and I see it's Dave Astor, and he's like, hey, I'm looking for a guitarist for Pathology. Are you interested?
Wow.
And I'm just like, holy shit, because of course I'm a huge fan and everything like that, and so I wrote him back immediately. I was all shaking, I was all nervous and shit, I was just like, yes, I'm very interested, and then he had me do a video for media consumption. I sent that over as soon as I could.
Wow.
And I had to there was a little video online, which is cool, a playthrough, so I figured it out, and met Dave shortly after that. But I'd known Ricky forever, and we're like, we need a bass player. And I'm like, man, I know a guy,
Oh, wow,
so I fucking... Yeah, it's weird because I had my Facebook and my Instagram deactivated at that point. Yeah. And I only had my Messenger just to stay in contact with friends, and then Dan just sent me a Facebook message one day. Yeah, because we kind of dropped out of contact for a little while too, and so that kind of got that going again. I was like, fuck. I was like, I don't even know how to get a hold of Ricky. I was like, I got to figure this out. You know what I mean? And so, like, and finally, just by chance, you saw it. Yeah. And it's been on.
And so,
it's been on ever since.
And so, Dan, let me ask you. I'm guessing. Did Facebook also play a role on you and Ricky hooking back up, or how did you hook up with him?
It was through Facebook. Yeah.
That's just amazing now. And talk a little bit, Dan. I mean, that's got to be cool. Like you're telling me, you're a huge fan of this band before you even joined. So, what's that like to go from kind of being a fan to actually jumping up on stage and playing with this band that you're just a huge fan of?
Yeah, it was weird, man. Yeah. Like honestly, dude, like Pathology is my go-to gym music. Like that kind of like. It kind of got me going, and kind of like that genre of music, like the more like slammy stuff. I was like, dude, I like this, man. It's fucking just so heavy, you know? And it was intimidating, honestly, too, because I'd never been in a band with just one guitarist, you know? So I had the whole responsibility of holding it down on the guitars, and I was like, oh, fuck, this is going to be crazy, you know? And I don't know if I can swear about that.
No, that's cool. That's cool. We're on the internet, so whatever. Yeah. And let me ask you, when we got that first initial message from Dave, were you kind of thinking like, yeah, sure, somebody's BSing me, or this isn't really him?
No, like I thought it was for real, for sure. And I think also what led to it too, because I was playing guitar, or still am, with Condemned. But I think what it was, like we just got back from like a European tour.
Oh wow.
And so I think he probably saw me posting. That's probably how he found me.
Yeah.
So I was posting, like all this stuff that we just did, and he's like, oh, guitarist in San Diego, and then, it just worked out. So.
It's amazing what you can do on. I mean, social media's got both the good and the bad, but it's amazing how you, like you said, you can look up your friend you haven't seen in years and find out that's where he's living these days, or that's what's going on in his life, and people looking for a guitar player. Oh, hey, that guy looks like he's quite the shredder. Maybe I'm going to give this guy a call and offer him a gig. So is that
exactly? Yeah.
And so now let me ask you, Ricky. How surprised were you when you got that initial? I don't know who contacted you first, if it was Dan, your good friend Dan here, or Dave, but when you first got that initial call about, or you heard from Dan after all these years, what was that like? I mean, you must have been, you're kidding me, man.
Yeah, no, it was crazy because I used to play in this band called Suffocate back in 2010, 11, 12, and I did a bunch of tours with them, a couple European tours and some U.S. tours, and during that time, Dan and I were really good friends because I used to work at Guitar Center.
Oh, wow.
And so he was in Lord of War at the time, and he did merch for, I want to say, the Kennedy Veil on a tour.
Yeah, it was the Zenith Pass.
Oh, the Zenith Pass.
Yeah, like when they were first getting started, like they were like borrowing my band and shit, like I would go see, went to go see Dan on this tour. That's what it was. I went to go see him on this tour. That's right, it was at the House of Blues downtown. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and then, cool. Yeah, and I was always like, I heard he was in Pathology, and I was, and Pathology's a big name in San Diego, and I was like, dude, that's awesome. So he hit me up, and like out of the bat, I was like, dude, congratulations for getting into Pathology. That's really cool. And then he just, he's like, we need a bass player. You want to play? And I was like, yeah, I'm down. Because I wasn't in the band at that time, and it's just went on from there. I never met Dave before. I think I actually played a show with one of my first local bands I was in, was Cattle Decapitation at the American Legion Hall.
Oh, wow.
In the ghetto, like back in the day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I never met Dave, and it was great. And then we just all kind of clicked and bonded, like as friends and as musicians out of the get-go.
Yeah, we've never met any of the guys from Pathology before. Like, honestly, the only person that we met since all this happened is Tim, and he's awesome. Like, he's so hilarious. Like, really cool guy. The other guys, I think they're just doing their own thing or whatever. But it's crazy how it all came together. That's for sure. So.
And now, Dan, you obviously been in the band a little longer than Ricky, but let me ask Ricky, or even both of you guys, being the fact that you guys were kind of friends before and you lost touch, but you've kind of rekindled a friendship, did it make it that much easier for you guys kind of to join the band together, thinking, okay, I got my pal here, like you probably knew each other a little better than you knew other guys, obviously, so did that help, like knowing that you kind of had your your buddy here on the side that was joining the band with you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, and that's the thing is like, because I tried to get Ricky and Lord War, honestly, like back in the day, and like he was like learning the songs and stuff like that, but it was just a long time.
Yeah.
This was a long time ago.
Oh wow.
I think this was right before the Suffocate stuff happened.
Yeah.
I think it was just crazy, you know. And then I remember that happened, and I was like, dude, that's so cool, you know. Like,
Yeah.
And I always knew though that we were gonna play music together at some point. Yeah, exactly. So it's like perfect, you know.
And let me ask you, Dan, because you said before you joined the band, you were obviously aware of Pathology being a fan. Now, the fact that you were a fan, when you had to go in and learn the tunes, did it make it that much easier learning the tunes because you kind of were familiar with them already, or was it equally hard learning them?
No, it definitely made it easier, but it was also a lot of fun too. You know, because it was already songs that I loved, and it was just like, dude, I'm like playing these. You know, like it was just so fun to like jam to the tracks, and just like it would trip me out. Like it was like surreal. It was like, I'm like doing this. You know, I'm gonna be doing this on stage. It still is weird. You know, like when we're on the road, it's awesome. Yeah, for sure. It's cool.
And so obviously, you know, when you're playing these tunes, you got to kind of play the songs the way they were written. But I was curious, you know, as a musician, as a guitar player and a bass player, like when you play older tunes that you guys weren't originally a part of, do you kind of play the songs like note for note, like you're really play them true to form, or do you kind of try to put your kind of little influence or your spin on the tunes?
Okay, that's a great question. Okay, because here's the thing: is like since we never, like there wasn't not really any tabs. There's a few tabs online, which actually were really helpful.
Yeah.
I don't know. By the way, too, I don't know if you're getting that feedback. Is that okay? Like that noise?
Well, I'm not hearing it, so I apologize for that.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like messed up or anything. But yeah. Anyways, so it was hard. Some of the songs we did have to figure out like strictly by ear. So it might be like a little bit different because that stuff is like fast or down tuned, and it's like, whoa, what? So, we did the best we could to get it as close as possible. There probably is little things that are probably different, that we just had to like kind of adapt.
Yeah, of course. And now, how many albums have you guys been involved with since you've joined the band?
Just this last one, We're Born to Kill.
Okay. And as far as the recording of that goes, were you guys all in the same room together as a band? Did you do it the modern way, where every guy kind of records his parts separately and you piece the whole thing together when you're done?
Yeah, we were all together in one room during some parts, and some parts, because the recording process, it takes a little bit of time, and sometimes we'd go to the liquor store and get a drink or something like that. Yeah. Go get a soda or something, but mainly in the same room. Yeah, because we went up to San Francisco. We just took 4 days. Yeah. Was it Shark Bite he's calling it out? Is it Shark Bite? It is. Yeah. So we just took 4 days and pounded it out. I had never recorded an album in 4 days. Normally that shit takes 3 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was crazy. Yeah, but we just did it. I can't believe we actually pulled that off. It was 12 or 15-hour studio sessions. Yeah. We just got in there and put in the work. It was gnarly. It was impressive. I was impressed that we pulled it off.
And I was curious, does everybody in the band get to contribute songwriting wise, or how does that work?
Yeah. A lot of the songs a lot of what we did is we just recorded riffs at the rehearsal spot, and then Dave would kind of arrange the songs later and kind of piece it together, and it was cool because it would there were ideas we wouldn't think of, and it just came together really nicely.
Yeah. And I was curious, Dave, as a bass player, do you play kind of let's say Nikki Sixx or a Jason Newsted would play, in the sense of play with a pick, or do you play without a pick?
I play with a pick just because the riffs are so technical and the BPMs are just so fast that I want to make sure I'm really just on my tempos and on my just all the riffs, my picking attacks and stuff like that.
And I'd like to ask both of you guys. When I interview people, I always love to ask them. I'll start off with you, Dan. In your case, why did you choose the guitar as your instrument of choice, as far as that's the instrument I want to learn to master?
Oh God, I don't know, man. I was just I think I mean?
Uh-huh.
And it just kind of hit me one day. Like, honestly, it was a girl. She showed me "Come As You Are" by Nirvana.
Oh, wow.
And I love Nirvana. Like, I still like Nirvana, you know. And like, I just kind of just got into it, and then I just kind of dug in, and then I started learning like Metallica riffs, and just, you know, it just kept progressing, you know. And I knew that's what I just wanted to pursue. It was weird.
I mean, I'll tell you the thing about Nirvana that you know amazes me. You know, all these years later is everybody thought, obviously, you know, Kurt Cobain was the face, the voice, and you know, he was Nirvana, so to speak. But who would have ever thought that the drummer years later would break out? You know, he put down his drumsticks, you know, start playing the guitar and become a lead singer, and have his own successful career, you know, with the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, Dave Grohl's an incredible musician.
Yeah, that guy's crazy. Yeah, he seems like a super cool guy too, man. Like, you always hear stories of him like helping people, throwing barbecues for the firefighters. I remember that like last year. Like, it's just awesome. You know, he seems really down to earth. It's cool.
Yeah, and get back to you, Dan. As far as your guitar playing, I was curious. You said you started playing about 15 now. I was curious. Did you take lessons, or would you consider yourself to be like a self-taught player?
I took lessons when I first started. It was like less than a year, honestly. Yeah. And I mean, this is when I was still so young. You know, like I was like 15, I think, and I was really kind of shy and introverted back in the day. And my guitarist was our teacher. He was so intimidating. As ultimately why I quit is because like I would go to like play in front of him and I'd be trembling and shaking, and he would tell me that I sucked. He was just like, dude, he's like, you're not progressing as much as you should. I'm like, but I'm terrified of you, dude. Like, because he would scald me if I did something wrong. I'm like,
what I'll say to that. What I'll say to that, Dan, is all these years later, you know, you must have done something right, because, you know, you got a recording deal. You're in Pathology. You're touring across the United States. So you're doing. You know, you're living your dream, so to speak. So there's something to be said for that. And you know, as far as guitar playing, you know, there's two schools of thought. I mean, there are guys that play like, you know, Joe Satriani or Tony McAlpine, and you know, they're just great shredders and great at what they do. But like, you look at like a guy like Tony McAlpine. He kind of thinks before, you know, as he's playing, you know, that's not how you technically play it. But then look at a guy like Eddie Van Halen. Look at what he does on the guitar. And people are amazed to learn that the guy can't even read a lick of music, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's one thing I want to get back into is like a couple of years ago I was even taking lessons to like give lessons. I'd love to get into that, but it was just like with the recording schedule, the touring, and just having the extra money to even pay for the lessons.
Well, I'll tell you what you should look into.
It was just kind of not there.
I'll tell you what I see.
Give it up.
I'll tell you what I see all the time that you should really look into, if you're serious about it, is people are giving lessons like online, and you know, you can even do like a YouTube channel where you get just when you have a time, record something, people can give a lesson, or some people can go and you know, do it that way, because I see a lot of people doing that.
Absolutely, that's pretty big. Yeah, like Skype lessons and that kind of thing. You can even do that on the road, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and you can kind of do it around your own schedule. And then I also want to ask you, Dan, like as far as guitar heroes, who are the guys that really influenced you growing up?
I mean, growing up, it's you know, honestly, like the guys you just listed, of course, are legendary. And then you have like, I mean, Kirk Hammett kind of started it. You know, like I heard Metallica when I was 10 years old. So literally, I would learn like full albums. You know, like Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets. You know, that was just my shit.
So obviously, you were a Metallica fan. So obviously, you were
my favorite. I love it.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Who did you say was your all-time favorite guitar player?
As of right now, dude, I love Andy James. Like, that guy is just so awesome. I met him before, too, at NAMM. Like, he was just super cool.
Wow.
And it's awesome that he's working with Kiesel now, too. You know, like, so, yeah, that guy is just amazing, though.
And then you mentioned, like, Kirk Hammett, so obviously you're a Metallica fan, and I was kind of curious on your thoughts about, like, I'm sure, like, a lot of fans, you love those first three albums, but, like, were you one of the fans that loved the Black Album when it came out, or did you, like, that's not my Metallica? What was your thought process when you heard that Black Album for the very first time?
Well, I think it was Inner Sandman was the first song that I heard. When I was a little kid, I was like 10, so I thought that was the shit, you know?
Yeah.
But after I got to know a little bit more, it was not my favorite, of course. You know, like the earlier albums were great, you know, and as far as what they're doing now, like I just kind of stopped listening after probably you have load and reload.
Yeah.
If you're more like, I don't know about St. Anger, dude. Yeah, I didn't really get into that.
I mean, I like obviously like you said the first 3 albums. I like most of the Jason Newsted era stuff, but after that they kind of lost me, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember the old like I used to have the VHS of with the Binge and Purge. So was that '92 in San Diego, I think?
Yeah.
There's like Mexico in San Diego. Yeah. There's YouTube videos of live sports events back in the day. Yeah, like that. So that was like their prime, dude. It was so cool.
Wow. And so, Ricky, now getting to you, I'd like to ask you kind of what I was just going over Dan with, like as far as you, when you first started learning to play the bass. What was about the bass guitar that you made you want to play that instrument? Was it, you know, another bass player that you liked their playing, or was it a record you heard? What made you want to be a bass player?
So originally I started learning playing guitar when I was in high school. I was probably like 15, a sophomore.
Yeah.
And I loved Metallica and stuff like that too back in the day. And I had a bunch of friends that played guitar, and I was like, you know what, that would be cool. So took some classes, and then I took lessons for about maybe a year.
Okay.
And then formed this local band with some of my best friends, and then they needed a bass player. And I was like, you know what, I guess I'll just play bass. Okay. And then from there, I just started playing bass, and I loved it, and I've played bass ever since.
Now I got to ask you, because I'm not... I'm the farthest thing you could consider a musician. I'm just a music fan. So let me ask you this. A lot of people have misconception, you know, hey, if you can play the guitar, you can play the bass. Did it make it a little easier, like when you started playing the bass? Well, you know, I'm a guitar player. I start out on the guitar. I'm going to move over to bass. And did that help you any in when you were just starting out as a bass player?
Yeah, it helped me. And also, too, like, they're definitely, like... you can play a bass like a guitar, but it's also a lot different when you're approaching like how to like accent guitar riffs and stuff like that, and try not to, try to play more bass like directed riffs and like guitar riffs on a bass. Yeah. But it's cool to like be able to like do both of those things, especially in death metal where it's like extremely riffy and you can like really do like some brings like cool riffs to the table, and yeah, it was cool.
I mean, one of my all-time favorite bass players is Tom Peterson, the bass player from Cheap Trick. You know, he's got that 12-string bass that he kind of, I think, invented and is known for. What do you think about that? I was kind of curious. What would be the difference between playing your 4-string bass versus like a 12-string bass? Is it just the number of strings, or you get a fatter sound, or?
I think there's more like, I think on the 12-string bass, I think you're able to, there's more like melody options, because I think it's like for each string you have like the higher octave string as like that second string. It's kind of like a 12-string guitar, I think. Okay. And I actually had a 12-string acoustic guitar for a long time, and that thing was awesome.
And
that thing was cool.
Wow. Now you guys are telling me your latest album is called Reborn to Kill. I know that's been out a while, but I was curious, as far as the songs that are on the album, were these songs that were just written from a time you guys came into the band, or any of the songs predating when you guys were in the band?
No, that's all brand new. Yeah, that's all original. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And I was curious, since the Reborn to Kill has been out a while, have you guys already started thinking towards the next release, or are you still really, because I know you got a tour going on, so you must be getting really good reaction from this album, since you guys are still touring behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's been the main focus now, is just getting ready for this tour. It came upon us really fast, and so we're kind of just scrambling to get everything ready to be on for a month. Yeah. But it's definitely something we're talking about, kind of the direction we want to go for the new album, and what we're going to do, what kind of riffs, all that stuff. We'll probably really focus on it when we get back, and piece it together, throughout the rest of the year.
Spend some serious time on just on the new tracks.
And so, like I said, I see you guys have some tour dates coming up across the United States. I think it's called the 2020 Damnation tour. Talk a little bit about that. Like, is the tour going around the world? Is it specifically just here in the States right now, or?
Yeah, it's only in the States. It's only in the U.S. Yeah.
And you guys, I assume, are headlining the tour, or does it depend on the date? Like, are you doing it with different acts, or do you got the same acts touring with you?
No, we're going to be headlining every show.
Okay.
And our direct support is a New York death metal band called Pyrexia, and we did a European tour with them about a year and a half ago, and we were co-headlining with them, so that we'd switch off different headlining nights, and they're our really good friends. And I personally have never toured with the same band twice, so it's going to be like a family reunion when we see these guys in like a week.
Okay.
And I can't wait. Super excited.
And so, are you guys?
A lot of fun. Yeah, they're super awesome live.
Yeah.
And the shows, it's going to be a blast. So if there are any shows that anybody listening that are coming by, come out, get ridiculous. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be good. Yeah, it'll be cool.
And so it sounds like what you're saying is, sounds like you guys are a pretty cool band as far as hanging around after a show for if fans want to come and meet you in the crowd. That's something that you would welcome them to do.
Hell yeah, that's like the best part. Oh, for sure. Yeah, we'll get some beers, chill out, and we've had some crazy times with people coming to the show. So it's a lot of fun.
Now let me ask you. You just
like at tables or something.
Yeah.
We pretty much get done and just hang out with everybody.
Now, I think it was you, Dan, who just said you've had some pretty crazy times on the road. So, is there one story that comes to mind that really kind of sticks in your thoughts as far as that crazy thing that really happened to you on the road?
Gosh, I'm trying to think. So touring with Pyrexia, we had some wild nights. The thing I remember with those guys, because we had the big nightliner in Europe and all that kind of stuff. I just remember they wouldn't sleep.
Oh wow.
They weren't sleeping very much,
and in the sense that they were killing bottles all night, and so we're just chilling, and I'm like, how are they still going, dude? Just slamming bottles, yelling, crazy, just literally nonstop. And I was like, how are you gonna perform tonight, dude? So it's gonna be shit like that. It's just gonna be ridiculous.
Wow. And let me ask you, so you guys said the tour kicks off sometime next week, or are you in the midst of a rehearsal, or do you rehearse the day of a show, or how does that work?
Oh yeah, we're in the midst of rehearsals right now. We rehearse a few times a week together, and we're just kind of getting the final preparations going, and then we leave on Sunday to head out to Kansas City for the first day.
Yeah, heading out to Missouri. And so we jam tomorrow. Yeah, got a few more after that, and then we're just gonna do it.
And then as far as the set list, did you guys come up? Do you have a a set list? These are the songs we're playing, or do you kind of mix it up each night, or how do you go about deciding what songs to play each night?
Oh yeah, no, we have a set list. This is one of the longer sets that we've done. It's a beefy set. How many songs are there? I think we're playing 16 songs, something like that. It's crazy. And it's a huge set. Yeah, we're trying to get something off of most of the albums, and of course Awaken to Suffering and Time of Great Purification and Reborn to Kill, the new one, of course.
And that's kind of my question. You play a lot. You think you'll be playing a fair amount of tunes from a new album, or like you said, probably a little bit of everything, I would imagine.
A little everything. I think from the new album there's 5.
Oh wow, that's pretty.
Yeah, we're playing 5 songs. Yeah, from the new.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
That's pretty good. And then, but the last thing before I let you guys go that I kind of wanted to ask about is I got to tell you, I think you guys are on a great little label there, Pavement Entertainment. And what I dig about them is the fact that the label was started by Tim King, as most people know, is the bass player from Soil. So you guys are on a label where it's not just a guy in the studio; he's an actual musician who's actually lived the life, and now he's giving other bands the opportunity to kind of get on his label. But you would think a guy like that would be signing nothing but metal acts, but I dig the fact they got a great roster of artists from everything from rap and metal and in between.
Yeah, Pavement's it's been a really label, and like I can remember too when I was younger listening to just like they used to release a lot of death metal back in the day.
Yeah.
They used to be a huge death metal label, and then they've definitely just expanded to other styles.
Yeah, I think they kind of got away from the metal for a little bit. Now they're trying to bring it back. It's just one of the reasons why they signed us. And hopefully they continue that. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. So, but yeah, it's been really cool with them. So.
And the very last thing I want to ask you guys, as far as Pathology, how many albums has the band put out to date? Do you know?
God, there's hold on. We can tell you exactly. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
10 albums.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Okay, and my final question in regards to the catalog of music is, are there any of the albums that are out of print, or can everybody, if they want to go back and buy the back catalog, are those CDs still available?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. Yeah, because there's been so much history and all these different labels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even. I don't know, actually. That's a good question.
Because I think what you guys should see is either put out a greatest hits CD, or maybe Pavement could re-release the catalog. That would be cool.
That's a great idea. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We tend to bring like most of the releases with us when we play shows.
Oh, that's cool.
We have them on the table.
That's cool. Yeah.
We'll do like.
Yeah, Dave's got a lot of old stuff still.
Yeah.
And then I think like Awaken to the Suffering and Time of Great Purification was on Victory Records, and I think Victory still has
copies. Yeah.
Of our CDs on their web store.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of cool being the new guys. Do you ever come across people that think, oh, I didn't know they had a new bass player. I didn't know they had a new guitar player. I thought I thought it was the same lineup. But I'd imagine when people come to the shows, you kind of get two groups of people. You get a group of people that they've been fans since day one, and then you have people that are just discovering the band off of the latest album.
Yeah, it happens all the time on the road, actually. Like, we'll get people and they're like, yeah, it was so cool when we saw you 8 years ago or whatever. And it's like, we kind of have to break it to them,
that wasn't us.
Yeah. We're kind of new. Yeah, sorry.
And how important?
It feels like we've been.
How important?
It feels like we've been welcomed.
Yeah. Well, that's cool though, and you guys, obviously, you guys have fitted right into the band, and I was going to ask, how important has social media been to you guys? I mean, if you stop and think about it, you're a band from San Diego, like we said at the top of the interview, and you must get messages from people in parts of the world where the band hasn't even played yet, and thinks it's, some guys on the other side of the world listening to your CD, that's just kind of got to, trip you out, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. We get messages all the time from people in Asia, all over.
I can tell you the weirdest thing, dude, because we played Bogota in Colombia last year.
Wow. We
go down there, and not only people knew about us, but they knew us by name. Yeah, that was really weird. You know what I mean? Because we'd never been there, and they're like, Dan, Ricky, what's up? And we're like, what's up?
That goes to
how do you know us?
That goes to what I hear all the time, especially the European metal fans. They really, more so than American fans, have a real love for their bands, and even some of the bigger bands from the 80s, they don't even tour the U.S. anymore. Bands that are even from here, they go and tour Europe and other parts of the world just because they get a better response in those other countries. It's just amazing.
Yeah, there's some band, there's this band I really like called Lionheart, which is this hardcore band from the Bay Area, and they strictly only tour Europe now, and it's a lot of, it's different from the scenes between the United States and Europe.
Because there's so many different countries, over there that you're hitting at once when you do a tour in Europe like that, and it's just different. It's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun.
Europe is a way different kind of vibe and show vibe. It's totally different than the United States. And the United States is great.
Yeah.
Touring the US.
Yeah.
It's just really different.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you a funny story about that, about the current state of the music industry. As you guys know, a lot of bands. That's why I respect what bands like you guys are doing. The fact that you're even releasing new music and CDs. There are bands that, nobody's buying CDs. We're just going to live on our catalog of music. We're not going to bother writing, recording any. We're not going to release any physical CDs. People want our music, they can just buy it digitally online. I mean, you're talking to a guy here from Los Angeles, and about a year or two ago, you could still get CDs, like at the local Best Buy. Not even anymore. Like all my music, I got to tell you, either I buy through the bands that I listen to, or I go on Amazon. That's where I get my music. The closest thing we have to a record store, if you know what that is like an hour away in Hollywood, California, from where I live. I mean, wow. and then you go to like other countries or even other states, and they still have record stores. A lot of the kids like these days, what's a record store? What's a record? I mean, that's how crazy it has gotten.
Yeah. It is weird, huh? Like that's the thing. Yeah, everybody's streaming music, Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff. But people are still buying. I mean, people buy CDs at shows.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which is cool. It really helps us. For sure.
Yeah,
but vinyls and stuff like that. Like people are into that, which is cool.
Vinyl's funny because it's making somewhat of a comeback. And I'll tell you a funny story about people buying CDs. Probably about 10 or 12, 15 years ago, maybe. I went to see the band Tesla playing. And they just put out like a 2-volume cover CD, and what they did is kind of unique is you could go buy volume 1 like at the record stores that were still around at the time, or but if you wanted volume 2, you had to go to the show, and they'd give you, as you're walking into the concert, they'd hand you a free CD of the second volume, and you get that for free. But the only way you could get that is if you came to see the band live. Yeah. So you're getting like a little souvenir and giving you a reason to come, if you know what I mean. Besides a great
exactly, a little more incentive.
Live show.
Yeah, but that's a good idea. That's a good way to and they'll keep listening to it, after the show. They're all stoked. It's a great idea. That's cool.
Well, obviously, if you guys can tell, I could babble on all day, but I want to thank you for taking time to talk to me today, and it's really a pleasure getting to know you, Ricky and James. Ricky and Dan, and. So what I'd like to do is let's keep in touch, and anytime you guys have anything to promote, feel free to get in touch with me, and I'd be more than happy to interview you again. As far as this interview, it'll probably be going up in within a couple days or sometime next week. I'll let you know the minute it goes up, and at that point you're more than welcome to post on any of your sites. I got a final question. Do you guys have any problem with me lifting some pictures off your Facebook page just to post along with the interview?
No problem, man. Yeah. There's tons of live ones, a lot of stuff on Instagram too. You can check out, and
I apologize to you guys again for the confusion about the interview today. But like I said, when we get off the phone here, I'll send you a link via your Facebook page, just so you can go check out some of my past interviews, and then you'll see where this is going to go up at.
Okay, yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, and everything sounded good. Like, dude, we were getting some crazy, some noise on this, and like, our voices were coming through clear.
Yeah,
and everything.
Yeah, you're coming through. I apologize if you're getting any feedback. I'm not sure what that is, but
yeah, it must be. It's probably my phone or something. It was weird. Yeah, I got it hooked up to the car so we could hear, but that might be it. But all right.
Okay.
Cool, man. Yeah, thanks, dude. That was awesome.
Okay, I'll be talking to you guys. Take care, and best of luck on the upcoming tour.
Appreciate it, dude. That was cool.
Okay, bye-bye.